Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Zoom. I believe that we have the settings that you are unable to unmute yourself. We're sorry that we're doing that, but it's just to keep everything as clean as possible. Jill, are you able to hear me? Can you just give me a thumbs up? You're the only screen I can see. Excellent. Yeah, no, I know that you can't unmute yourself, but yeah, perfect. Thank you. We're going to work on getting the synagogue picture in here in just a second. Hi, Robin. Hi, everyone. Yep, doing it right now.
Hi, Holy Days.
Just so you know,
I'm trying to think of when I met Cantor Mark. It was in the 80s, and we were involved in a opera production. Was it Deflator Mouse? Is that when we met?
Wow. 30 years ago.
Right. So I've had the pleasure of working with him off and on through the years here at CBB, and also have had the pleasure of teaching piano to his sons, David and Adam. Shana Tova, everybody.
Did you say we're?
So everyone's happening to pass the time. We've been going around and having everyone who's in the room introducing themselves as we've been trying to figure out our next tech option. We're glad that that sound was working. And we're going to do our best to give you as much of the live service as we can with as best of audio as we can. I can't promise it's going to be like you're sitting in the room with us, but we will try.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu ladlik ner shel yom tov. Amen.
Thank you, Diane and Steve. Shana Tova. And we'll continue now with the Shehechianu, the prayer thanking God for keeping us alive and bringing us to this moment. We are on the bottom of page 11.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh.
We turn now to page 15 And Mariella, could you let Rabbi Brenner know that we are going to need him shortly up here for a very special part? We're on page 15. Tik'u b'chodesh shofar, b'keseh leyom chagenu, ki chok liYisrael hu, mishpat l'Elohei Yaakov. At the new moon, at the full moon, for our feast day, sound the shofar. For that is the law of Israel, the way of the God of Jacob. Hallelujah b'teka shofar, praise God with the blast of the shofar. Baruch ata Adonai, shomea kol teruat amo Yisrael berachamim. Blessed are you in our lives, Adonai. You hear with love the shofar, true voice of your people Israel. Hikia! Shkach. We continue now on page 17.
Nirash v'nifchad mipachad yoshev tehilot Yisrael mipachad yoshev tehilot Yisrael. באתי לעמוד ולהתחנן לפניך ולהתחנן לפניך עמך
Here I am, so poor in deeds, I tremble in fear, overwhelmed and apprehensive before you, to whom Israel sings praise. Although unworthy, I rise to pray and seek favor for your people Israel, for they have entrusted me with this task. Therefore, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, God of Sarah, Rebekah, Rachel, and Leah, Adonai, Adonai, merciful, gracious God, who inspires awe, I pray to you for success on my path. I pray for myself and my community. Do not hold them responsible for my wrongs and offenses. May my deeds cause them no shame, and may their deeds cause me no shame.
Baruch atah shomei tefillah.
Continuing on page 19. Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Yehi ratzon shenizkeh livirchotecha bishnat chameshet alafim shva ma'ot shmonim u'shtayim. Our God and God of our ancestors, may we know your blessings in the year 5782. Eternal One, bless us and the whole house of Israel with renewed life, happiness and peace, comfort and courage, resilience and strength. May the words of our heart be acceptable to you in the new year that stretches before us. We are forever grateful for the gift of life. We turn to page 20 and we rise.
Baruchu et Adonai hamevorach. Baruch Adonai hamevorach leolam. Amen. Baruch Adonai hamevorach leolam. Amen.
Please be seated. We'll continue on page 22.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim b'chokhmah potech shernim ובתבונה משנה ימים ומחליף את הזמנים ומסדר את הכוכבים במשמרותיהם ברקיע כצאנו בורא יום ולילה גולל אור מפני חושך וחושך מפני אור ומעביר יום ומביא לילה ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה אדוני צבאות שמו אל חי וקיים תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד ברוך אתה אדוני המריב ערבים.
We turn to page 24, and we'll read together in English in the middle of the page. Love beyond all space and time, your love enfolds your people, Yisrael. We receive it in your teaching, your gift of Torah, sacred obligations, discipline, and law. So let us speak these teachings when we lie down and rise up, and find joy forever in your Torah and mitzvot. They are the very essence of our life, ours to ponder and study all our days. May we never lose or be unworthy of your love. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael, for you are blessed, the one who loves your people, Yisrael. Page 26.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam.
Page 28.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בהם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם להיות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בעיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Page 32. Truth and faith. These are fundamental to our existence. God alone is their source, and we are Israel, a people of God. Our sovereign saves us from tyranny, redeems us from its violence through countless wonders, from its brutality through great feats beyond measure. We are Israel, a people of God, the giver of life, who would not let our feet give way, the maker of miracles for us against Pharaoh, of signs and portents in the land of Egypt, the one who brought our people Israel from its midst to enduring freedom. Page 34. Witnesses to this heroic might, the people thanked and praised God by name, freely accepting the rain of heaven. Then Moses and Miriam and all Israel sang to you this song of utter joy.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נור התהילות עושה פלא, מלכותך ראו בניך. בוקע ים לפני משה, זה לי אנו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
Page 36.
השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, העמידנו מלכנו לחיים. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, העמידנו מלכנו לחיים. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו מלכנו לחיים. ושמור צאתנו ובואנו לחיים ושלום מעתה ועד עולם.
Bless our sleep with peace, Adonai, and awaken us to life when we rise. With power sublime, spread over us your shelter of shalom, and through your wisdom restore us, make us whole. Let your name proclaim your presence in our lives. Be our shield, make us stronger than the enemies we face, illness and war, famine and sorrow, and stronger than the enemies in our hearts, wickedness and sin. Carry us to safety as on wings. For you are the monarch of grace, the sovereign of compassion. You are the one who cares for us and sets us free. Watch over us, we who go forth to life. Watch over us, that we may come home to peace, now until the end of time. Blessed One, you spread over us a canopy of peace, a shelter of shalom over all Israel, your people, and over Jerusalem.
Shalom Hamitenu Malkeinu Lechaim Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Leshalom Hamitenu Malkeinu Lechaim Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Leshalom Mehamidenu Malkeinu Lechaim.
We've come now to the Amidah, which is the prayer the section that we pray silently in the evening. It begins on page 42. Before we go into it, I would like to take just a moment to welcome all of the people who have joined us on Zoom in the recent minutes, and I just want to explain a little, just for a moment, what happened. We had a serious technical problem with our network here at the synagogue, and so we were not able to live stream our service this evening. And so now, really thanks to our very, very talented and adaptable tech team, we're now broadcasting by Zoom. So if you've come in late, I want to welcome you. I wish you Shana Tova. You haven't missed the sermon. And right now, it is time for our silent prayer. So it goes in our book from page 42 through page 71. Take it at your own pace, in Hebrew or in English, or if you prefer, just close the book and take this as time for private prayer. We rise.
Adonai Sefatai Tiftach Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha. Eternal God, open my lips that my mouth may declare your glory.
Thank you, Maya. Thank you so much. I was just thinking that having you singing with the choir who were singing last year is a little bit like looking out at the stars and seeing the light that's coming to us from many, many years ago. A little bit like that. We'll turn now to page 245 for our prayer for healing. And tonight, as we offer the Mishberach, our prayer for healing, we're thinking in particular and offering our prayers for Keno Escobia, Rayanne Silver, Shimon Ben Tzvi Esther, Marlene Shan, Judy Boncher, Justin Boncher, Judy Weissman, Natalie Werbner, Sivan Batarina, Enid Kurzweil, Mariluz Garcia, Mark Osiel, Diane Phillips, Len Kaplan, Robert and Esther Baum, Jeff Pally, Ira Weinstein, Becca Wrench, Lanny Feder, Ellie Jahasi, Len Homeniak, Carrie Bradshaw, Mary Liebman, Ivan Rowan, Tali Batbacha. And if you'd like to add the name of anybody that you're thinking of or whose name I mispronounced, if you're here in the room, please go ahead and mention their name out loud. If you're on Zoom, please mention their name wherever you are. We will sing together at the bottom of page 245.
מקור הברכה לאמותינו. May the source of strength who blessed the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
And now we go in our books to page 74 for the preparation for the Avinu Malkeinu. Avinu Malkeinu. Strong was the faith of generations before us. In exile, they proclaimed enduring hope. In the shadow of persecution, they affirmed a transcendent love and compassion. Ours is a different age, less confident and certain, more tentative in its trust. There are many who say to the works of their hands, "You are our gods." But when our worship centers on our own creations, we feel less gratitude, more doubt, and despair. This is the paradox of our spiritual lives. We grow smaller in self-exaltation, nobler when we reach for you. On this night of return, let us find the humility to come close to you and open ourselves to your presence. For you are absent only when we fail to make room for you in our hearts, distant only when we turn away from you. Now, as others have done before us, let us overcome doubt and speak these words of affirmation. We call you Avinu. As loving parent, forgive our wrongs and failings. Accept us in our human frailty. We call you Malkeinu. As sovereign of our souls, help us rise from our brokenness to build a world of shalom. To this vision, we offer ourselves anew. We rise now and turn to page 77.
Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Koleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chatanu lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, Chamol aleinu, ve'alol aleinu, ve'tapenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, kol et Erev, ve'Erev Rosh Hashanah. Avinu Malkeinu, kol et Chotzon, u'astin me'aleinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Korvenu besefer chaim tovim. Avinu Malkeinu, Chodesh aleinu, Chodesh aleinu, Shana tova.
Avinu Malkeinu, Malkeinu, Kaddish aleinu, Shana tova.
Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Koleinu, Shema Koleinu, Shema
We'll read it in English on page 77. Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, hear our voice. Avinu Malkeinu, we have strayed and sinned before you. Avinu Malkeinu, have compassion on us and on our families. Avinu Malkeinu, halt the onslaught of sickness, violence, and hunger. Avinu Malkeinu, halt the reign of those who cause pain and terror. Avinu Malkeinu, enter our names in the book of lives well lived. Avinu Malkeinu, renew for us a year of goodness. Avinu Malkeinu, Almighty and merciful, answer us with grace, for our deeds are wanting. Save us through acts of justice and love.
Avinu Malkeinu, Chonenu Vahneinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chonenu Vahneinu, Ki ein banu masim. Aseh imanu, Tzedakah v'chesed. Aseh imanu, Tzedakah v'chesed ve'hoshienu. Aseh imanu, Tzedakah v'chesed. Aseh imanu, Tzedakah v'chesed ve'hoshienu. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu.
We turn now to page 79, and Cantor Childs is going to chant for us the festival Kaddish, sanctifying the day over wine.
It is my honor and pleasure to do this on your behalf and to drink this wine on your behalf as well. All of it. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'am, romamanu mikol lashon, v'kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'titen lanu Adonai Eloheinu be'ahava et yom hazikaron hazeh yom truah mikra kodesh zecher litziat Mitzrayim kivanu v'charta ve'otanu kidashta mikol hamim u'devarecha emet v'chayam lad baruch atah Adonai melech al kol haaretz mekadesh Yisrael melech al kol haaretz mekadesh. You heard it once, now sing it together. Melech al kol haaretz mekadesh Yisrael melech al kol haaretz mekadesh Yisrael melech al kol haaretz mekadesh Yisrael yom hazikaron. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman.
Well, after the night we've been having, I don't think it hurts just to ask. Isaac, are we good on Zoom? We're good on Zoom. Fantastic. Are we good in the room? Oh, good. There's a few more drops in my cup. Good Yantif. I have always been a lover of Jewish stories. The mystical touch, the Yiddishkeit, the je ne sais quoi. Of all the Jewish stories I've heard in my life, none have resonated so deeply in me as the one I'm going to share with you tonight. I still remember my childhood rabbi, Lisa Hochberg Miller in Ventura, telling this story with such profound gravity that last week when I called her asking for a copy of the sermon she gave about it, she was confused. I never gave a sermon about Shmuel the shoemaker, she said. I just told the story. That's how deeply it stuck with me. I felt like she had waxed poetic on it. And I'm going to share that story with you now. A slow, dry breeze drifted through Plochnik, a small shtetl hidden in the woods in the pale of the settlement. Boots crunched on the hard, cracked ground as the shadow of figures made their way to the synagogue in the middle of town. It was already late November, and the people of Plochnik had yet to see a drop of rain fall from the sky, a dangerous omen for a town that needed rain to fill its wells and water its crops. Everything once green in the town was now brown and dry. Cows stopped giving their milk. Fish were washing up out of the shrinking lake. So the rabbi of the town called a meeting. Once everyone had assembled, they began to pray. "Please, God," cried the rabbi, "favor us with rain." "Please, God," echoed Moshe the butcher and Rivka the jeweler and Chaim the tailor. Even David, the town's lone rich merchant, was at the synagogue praying, "Favor us with rain." But nothing happened. From the back of the room came a quiet voice. Perhaps I should pray too. It was Shmuel, the shoemaker. Poor Shmuel, many in the town called him. Poor, stupid Shmuel, others would say. Shmuel often forgot to charge people when he fixed their shoes. And if he forgot to charge, people didn't pay. Shmuel had a knack for getting himself into dangerous situations. Once a wild bear was menacing the town, breaking down fences and eating people's sheep. Shmuel, with not a care in the world, strode through town, not realizing that the bear was there until he bumped into the back of it. And just as the bear turned and was about to strike Shmuel down, a deer wandered out of the forest, catching the bear's attention and saving Shmuel in the nick of time. Or there was that time that Shmuel was out washing his clothes by the lake when lightning struck a tree out of nowhere and it came crashing down onto him, or at least where he had been moments ago, because he had dropped a sock into the lake and gone in after it. This poor, stupid Shmuel was offering to pray. The Shmuel who could barely keep his shoelaces tied, let alone read prayers out of the prayer book. The townspeople paid him no heed, and they continued to pray. From the back of the room, Shmuel looked up at the Ner Tamid, the eternal light burning above the ark, and whispered, "Please, God, favor us with rain." At once, thunder clouds crashed outside the synagogue, and rain began pouring from the sky. Everyone in the room ran out, mouths open, to catch the first drops. "Hooray," they shouted, "we have prayed and God has listened." No one paid any heed to Shmuel, who just watched and smiled and slowly walked, shoelaces untied, back to his home. Well, a week went by, and then two.
And the lake, which was once dry and near the point, was now near the point of flooding the town. And wherever you walked, your feet would sink knee-deep into the mud. The rabbi called for another emergency meeting at the synagogue. All the townspeople assembled, wet and brown and a bit musty. And they began to pray. "Lord of the universe," said the rabbi, "take back your generous gifts. We are overwhelmed by your blessing." "Lord of the universe," cried Moshe the butcher, and Rivka the jeweler, and Chaim the tailor. Even David, the town's lone merchant, prayed, "Take back your generous gifts." But the rain continued. In the dark, from the back of the room, they heard poor, stupid Shmuel's voice. "Please, God, stop the rain." And immediately the rain stopped and the sun came out. Shmuel humbly smiled, looked around at the townspeople, and left, shoes still untied. The townspeople were in utter disbelief. It was without question that Shmuel's prayer had stopped the rain, and theirs had not. And they turned wide-eyed to the rabbi, who was as shocked as they were. "What's going on?" demanded Moshe. "How does poor Shmuel's prayer get answered, but not any of ours?" asked Rivka. I have no idea," mused the rabbi. "I have to think on it." That night, the rabbi had a dream. In the dream, he saw a brass gate opened wide with 36 stars adorning the top. As he walked through the gate, he saw menorot with 36 branches, each with candles lit, lining the walkway into a bright room. In the room was a table, the biggest table he had ever seen, with 36 people sitting at it. And at the head of the table was Shmuel. As the rabbi saw Shmuel's face, he woke up. And in that moment, he knew exactly why Shmuel had been able to make the rain stop, and that there was no doubt that it was Shmuel who made the rain come in the first place. He gathered the community together a final time in the shul. "Listen," said the rabbi, as everyone had assembled. "Our own poor Shmuel is one of the holy Lamed Vavniks." "The what?" asked Chaim. "The Lamed Vavnik," said the rabbi, "one of the 36 righteous people." The rabbi cried excitedly. Now everyone was paying attention. The rabbi continued, "An ancient tale tells us that scattered throughout the world are 36 holy people known as the Lamed Vavniks. No one knows who they are. Many of them are humble and poor, though some are rich and powerful. But these people are so good, so kind, so just and righteous that they always have God's ear. The world could not continue to exist without them and their prayers." "Shmuel's a Lamed Vavnik? And he lives here with us? What great fortune," cried David. "Let's go find him and tell the world he lives here. People will come from miles around to see him." And the town excitedly paraded to Shmuel's little home. But when they arrived, they were shocked at what they saw. Outside of Shmuel's home were shoes, enough for each town person to have a pair. But Shmuel himself was nowhere to be found. You see, the legend continues that no one can know you are a Lamed Vavnik. And once someone discovers your secret, you must leave. Imagine the damage that could be done if everyone knew you could talk directly to God and have your prayers answered. And the townspeople never heard from Shmuel again. Well, a few months went by, and the town got a new shoemaker, Yaakov. Yaakov was poor and occasionally forgot to charge people to fix their shoes. But no one in the town called him poor, stupid Yaakov, and if he forgot to charge them, they would pay anyways. After all, you never know. I remember sitting in the sanctuary in Ventura with that last sentence. After all, you never know. Pondering in a way that only an 11-year-old with an overabundance of self-confidence could. Am I a Lamed Vavnik? And it's funny, but I say with full shame of my hubris, I meant it. I really wondered, could I be a Lamed Vavnik? And I think that's the point of the story. To make us look inward and ask ourselves, do we hold ourselves to conduct worthy of being a Lamed Vavnik? We know intrinsically that perfection is unattainable, so to what higher point can we strive than to be sitting at God's table with God's ear always ready to hear our prayer? What is more of an honor than to know we are personally responsible for the continuation of the world? The memory of this mystical tradition continued to resonate with me, but I never gave it much thought until just a couple of weeks ago. In our Daf Yomi study, our daily study of Talmud, we came across the Talmudic source of the Lamed Vavniks, a passage from Tractate Sukkah, which reads, Abaye said, at any time, there are no fewer than 36 righteous individuals that greet the divine presence every day. And Abaye quotes a verse from the prophet Isaiah as his proof. Ashrei kol chochvelo, happy are those who await him. In the gematria of lo, at the end of that sentence, Lamed Vav is 30 for Lamed, 6 for Vav. Thus the name, the Lamed Vavniks. And I was so excited to come across this passage. The story of Shmuel the shoemaker came rushing back to me as if I had just heard it. And I started to dig more deeply into the Jewish tradition about the legend of the Lamed Vavniks. It does seem a bit far-fetched that from this random verse in Isaiah, happy are those who await for him, Abaye would interpret that there are 36 righteous individuals who protect the world from destruction without some sort of historical preconception. So where did this come from? One possible origin of this concept comes from another part of the Talmud. In Tractate Chagiga, it is written that when God created the world and first said, let there be light, 2 lights were created. One, the light that we understand and we know today, and the second, a divine light that shone from one end of the universe to the other, transcending time. The divine light was so powerful, any of God's creations could use that light to see into the future. God, in wisdom, knowing that the generation of the flood would be evil, hid the light away on the 4th day of creation while creating the sun, the moon, and the stars. But not before it had been in the world for 3 nights, 36 hours. God could not destroy that divine light, and so God took the 36 hours of light and imbued them into 36 righteous individuals, creating the Lamed Vavniks. And since that light cannot be destroyed, it moves from person to person, always 36. A more, perhaps, historically accurate theory to the origins of the Lamed Vavniks was written by the father of modern Kabbalah, Gershom Scholem. He suggested that ancient astrology, practiced by pagans, divided the sphere of the night sky into 36 sets of 10 days, each set of 10 being ruled by a different deacon, or heavenly being, that would protect the world during its watch. This astrological zodiac of 36 sections is also found in ancient Egyptian and Greek astrologies, and it's very likely that it was from these pagan cultures that Abaye drew inspiration, replacing idolatrous heavenly beings with righteous individuals. The academic search for the origins of the Lamed Vavnik enlightens our understandings of our Jewish mystical tradition, but it also builds a barrier upon which we can deny any truth to the legend. So for the remainder of what I have to say tonight, I want to invite you to suspend any thought of disbelief or doubt and imagine for a moment that the Lamed Vavniks are no myth, that they are 100% real. This would lead us to very important questions, like who can be a Lamed Vavnik? Early sources imply that only the rabbis were Lamed Vavniks, or if not rabbis, they had to be Jewish and they had to be men. But other sources said no. The Lamed Vavniks transcended Judaism and could be any gender from any nation. We might also want to know, if you're a Lamed Vavnik, do you know? The story of Shmuel the shoemaker might imply, yes, they know, but they have to keep it a secret. The Talmud tells us of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, who insists with gusto that if there were only one person in the world whose life could absolve the entire world from judgment, he was that person. But the prevailing interpretation to this question is that no one knows who they are and that they themselves don't know. For the very knowledge of being a Lamed Vavnik would change a person so dramatically, they would cease in being one. There's a profound beauty in not knowing who is one of the 36, because it opens the door for any of us to sit at God's table. Now, you might think to yourself, there's no way I could be one. I'm not nearly righteous enough or kind enough to even consider the possibility. But I disagree. Abaye taught in the Talmud that at any one time, there are 36 righteous individuals who wait to greet God. But he didn't say it's always the same 36. Rabbi Rami Shapiro teaches that anyone can enroll themselves in the ranks of the Lamed Vavniks by cultivating the sacred art of Gemilut Chasadim, acts of love and kindness. He writes, the tipping point for maintaining humankind is 36 individuals practicing loving kindness at any given moment. These need not be the same 36 at each moment, however. People step into and out of the Lamed Vavnik role, and that at any given moment, there are a new 36 stepping in. So perhaps you could be. Not all the time, but at the moments of your greatest kindness and your deepest compassion. Perhaps you might find yourself counted in the 36. And if that were possible, might that inspire you to think more carefully about how you act in the world? Earlier, I invited you to suspend disbelief and imagine that the Lamed Vavniks are real, just for a few minutes. But I actually want to challenge you to continue to suspend that disbelief. Continue to live each day in this new year knowing that the Lamed Vavniks are among us. Because if you believe in the Lamed Vavnik, if you believe that there are 36 souls at any given point that maintain the sanctity of the world through their existence, and if you believe in a system where anyone, regardless of power or money or influence, can be a Lamed Vavnik, then you believe that all of humankind is constantly stepping in and out of being responsible for one another. You believe that there is always the opportunity to do good. And if that is not something worth believing, then what is? Aspire to be a Lamed Vavnik because they are real. Treat your actions as if they held up the world because they do. A final thought in the spirit of our high holidays. In the month of Elul leading up to Rosh Hashanah, we sing the beautiful words from Psalm 27. Achat sha'alti me'et Adonai, ota avakesh. Shivti b'veit Adonai, kol yemei chayai. There is but one thing I seek from you, Adonai. Just one thing I request, that I might dwell, that I might sit in the house of God all the days of my life. We draw a connection between the Hebrew word for shivti, sitting and dwelling, to the word teshuvah, repentance and return. They share common letters in their roots, shin and vet. When we engage in teshuvah, we draw closer to dwelling in God's house, to sitting at God's table, endeavoring to be counted among the Lamed Vavniks. In this new year, may we all find ourselves sitting at God's table together, meriting the continued protection of our world through our acts of love and kindness. Shana Tova.
Yasher koach. These very words from Psalm 27 that Rabbi quoted. Achat shalti me'et Adonai, ota avakesh. Achat shalti me'et Adonai, ota avakesh. Shivti beveit Adonai, kol yemei chayai. Lachazok benoam Adonai, ulevaer beheichalo. Lachazok benoam Adonai, ulevaer beheichalo.
We turn now to page 82, and we rise for the Aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגוי עלינו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא.
We're on page 85. May the time not be distant, May the time not be distant, our God, when all shall turn to you in love, when corruption and evil shall give way to integrity and goodness, when lies and bigotry shall no longer enslave the mind, nor idolatry blind the eye. So may all created in your image become one in spirit and one in friendship, forever united in your service. Then shall your realm be established on earth, and the word of your prophet fulfilled. Adonai will reign forever and ever.
ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
now to page 90 for the Mourner's Kaddish. If you are saying Kaddish for someone you love this evening, please rise when you hear your loved one's name read. We're in the period of Shloshim, the first month of mourning, for Eleanor Irish Maisie Cohen, for Joyce Like, sister of Cindy Silverman, for Sisha Hess, Melt's wife, for Herb Golub, husband of Carol Golub, Dennis Levy, father of Alan Levy, Bruce Rebun, brother of Laura Lashiver, Ruth Hartzman, and Barbara Kaplan. We're in the first 11 months of saying Kaddish for Coleman Daniel, Herb Zipperstein, Mel Marks, Jeff Wolf, David Jacoby, Yael Kogan, Martha Rosenberg, Merle Levy, Meredith Taylor, Leatrice Luria, Jerome Harris, Evelyn Kay, Howard Scarr, Daryl Perlin, Eddie Siegel, Sanford Breyer, Elaine Potts, Elias Sedlin, Dorothy Ellis, Leonard Cohen, Bob Temkin, Elaine Basson, Albert Yenny, William Singer, Bill Goldstein, Carol DeCanio Avalis, Stephen Joseph Horowitz, Judy Meisel, Suri Gould, Jacob Richard Levin, Bernard White, Milton Warshaw. And we're observing the art site, the anniversary of the passing of Milton Book, Bernice Braun, Edward Kaplan, Robert Cosson, Irving Frand, Murray Friedman, Milton Gullberg, Rena Gendel, Harry Gertz, Alan Maurice Leroy Greer, Dave Halpern, David Katz, Janice Larson, Lois Laser, Ivor Lazarus, Eileen Massel, Anita Nelson, Carol Pasternak, Fred Percal, Raquel Presser, Sydney Ross, Julian Sachs, Sarah Schoen, Mildred Siegel, Thelma Sinrod, Geraldine Toscher, Louis Weil, Leona Weinthal, and Moshe Weitzman. And if you'd like to add the name of anybody else that you're remembering or whose name I mispronounced, please go ahead and do so. In addition, we have a number of names that we read every year on Rosh Hashanah. Max Farber, Menucha Friedman, Rebecca Klein, Daniel Landau, Lois Laser, Leon Lowenschus, Yetta Lowenschus, Nat Marsh, Julianne Sachs, Earl Solomon, Sarah Schoen, and Leona Weinthal. And now please follow your own custom, either to remain seated or to stand for the Mourner's Kaddish. Page 90. Yitgadal v'yitkadash, Shemei Rabbah, v'alma divrach chirute v'yamlich malchute, v'chayechon v'yomechon, v'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael, v'agala v'zman kariv, v'imru Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah mevarach le'alam olalmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yithalal, Shmei dekudesha b'richu. La'ela u'la'ela, mikol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'amiran ba'alma v'imru Amen. Yehei shalom rabba min shamaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom bimramav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru Amen. May the source of peace bestow peace on all who mourn, and may we be a source of comfort to all who are bereaved. Amen. Please be seated. And now, our custom on Rosh Hashanah is to hear from our president, Diane Zipperstein.
Shana Tova, everyone. Whether you're here physically at CBB or Zooming in tonight, I hope you experience these high holy days in a way that feels meaningful to you. Thanks to our task force on reopening, our dedicated clergy, and our committed staff for creating such a wide array of services. This past year and tonight has been filled with obstacles and challenges that were met with creative thinking, collaboration, and just plain hard work. We've had a full year. Our religious Shabbats, holidays, and life cycle events were celebrated and observed. We've had a consistent calendar filled with art and chats and musar and dreams, and we even had some thought-provoking speakers added to the lot. One shining light has been our preschool, now at its largest ever with 72 children, with a long wait list to boot. The schoolyard is filled with laughter and wonderful noise. The children and their parents are getting involved and coming to services, learning how to bring Judaism into their family. Our older children are active and engaged, many even opting for the Hebrew immersion class, which requires an additional day of school. Our high school students are led by Mira Brinjagard Bialik, our new youth engagement coordinator. Mira partnered with Sarah Dent, our new sporty president, and the whole sporty board hosted a pizza pool party at the Ingram's house. Thank you, Bob and Janice. Our 12th grade class last year insisted they continue past 10th grade because they wanted to be together. That is success. And by the way, CBB is so cool. We're on Instagram and TikTok. We want to build on this strength and move into the future. A year ago, we announced our Building Dreams project to renovate our synagogue campus. I hope you've had a chance to view our preliminary plans on the website. In this last year, we've made tremendous progress on this project. We expect to receive approval from Santa Barbara County for our campus plan this autumn. Once this is in hand, our talented architects, Blackbird, will submit detailed construction drawings suitable for permits. It is our goal to break ground by next summer. Building Dreams is a monumental project that will be a source of pride and enjoyment for decades, a gift from our generation to the next. To get this project completed, we're hoping for the support of everyone in our congregation. So far, the reception and commitments from donors we've spoken with have been enthusiastic and encouraging. In the coming months, we will expand our outreach to the entire community. We know, working together, we will raise the funds needed to turn our dreams into reality, and we humbly ask for your participation in this effort. We hope you're as excited about this transformation as we are. We're working hard so the lives of those preschoolers and many more kiddies to come will be bright and include a firm foundation in Judaism. And undoubtedly, the rest of us will benefit as well. I can't wait for Jerry Lifshitz to perfect my challah baking in that teaching kitchen and to take a watercolor class in the art studio with Lynn and Carol and many more of you. Oh, we're going to make such incredible memories in these new spaces. Again, I encourage you to check out the website for drawings and descriptions. In all seriousness, this is our turn to make a difference. Together, let's make CBB all that it can be. Beyond the Building Dreams efforts, we have a lot of other exciting offerings this fall. Rabbi Cohen's Journey Through the Palace of Jewish Prayer is a deep dive into the texts and practice of traditional Jewish prayer. Our Introduction to Judaism class begins in a few weeks, as does Adult Hebrew. Our Sunday Morning Live kicks off the season with a discussion about the new state-mandated ethics curriculum for students. We have a full menu of Melton classes, including, dare I pitch, my husband's class on the history of the Arab-Israeli conflict. We're starting a Mishpacha and Me, a parent and baby class for kidlets up to 18 months. In December, we look forward to a wonderful mitzvah day, where we will begin with a congregational meeting to vote on the bylaw changes that were discussed at the last annual meeting. That's CBB, a lot going on. As exciting as programs are, the heart of the temple community lies elsewhere. As president, I have witnessed the extraordinary work of our clergy and staff, the hours, the efforts, the skill, the heart, the nights and weekends, all in service of caring for us. Supporting CBB is an investment in impactful empathy. We can all empathize with the plight of someone experiencing hard times. But when people have such challenges, they need more than empathy. When we join CBB, we enable our clergy and staff to act, to help make an impact when people need it most. Frankly, I never thought I'd be one of those in need. But when my beloved father-in-law Herb passed away in July, our family was showered with compassion from this community. CBB was there to help us through this difficult time, working with our family to provide just what we needed. Joining CBB is an act of caring and compassion to support others in our community. I encourage and invite those of you who haven't taken this step to join us. The High Holy Day season is not only a time for self-reflection, but also a time to acknowledge the wonderful people who work tirelessly on behalf of this congregation. I want to thank again our fantastic clergy, Rabbi Cohen, Cantor Childs, Rabbi Brenner, whose warmth, intellect, and humor help us embrace our Judaism. Our incredible executive director, the incomparable Elizabeth Gaines, whose steady hand and warm heart lead us through each challenge with aplomb. Our dedicated staff, thank you for working so hard through the past year and a half to reach all of us and make our lives better. And our committed lay leaders who volunteer hour after hour to make a difference. A personal thanks to my wonderful husband, Steve, our family, friends, and the Monday morning chat group who have been so supportive these last few years. Your love and encouragement have meant so much. Being president has been a labor of love. It's been my honor and privilege to help lead this congregation. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for the chance to work on behalf of everyone who looks to CBB for spiritual inspiration, friendship, and community. Shana Tova.
Thank you, Diane. And I just want to say on behalf of everyone who is here and everyone who is out there, we are so grateful to you, Diane. This has been an unbelievably challenging year to be president of the congregation, and you have just led us with so much strength and inspiration and love and intelligence, and we're so grateful. I know I'm speaking for everybody tonight. Thank you, Diane. Okay, tonight has been just another night in this strange year and a half that we have been going through. Thank you all for sticking with us. Those of you that are here, those of you who are out there. I do want to just say a word about what's coming up tomorrow. And, you know, who knows what's going to be tomorrow? But here's what might happen tomorrow. We might have a very early morning service at 7 a.m. out on the back patio. No technology required. So if you, anyway, 7 o'clock in the morning, it will be relatively short, but it will be complete, including shofar and Torah reading. So that's at 7 o'clock tomorrow in the morning. At 9:15, we have a service for families with young children. That's basically preschool age. And so that would be the time to come with your little ones, 9:15, just until about 9:45 or so. Then at 10:30, we have our morning service. In here, we do have, we have room for about 100 people. And as I said, right now we have maybe 40. So if you would like to come tomorrow morning, we would love to see you here. If you would prefer to stay at home and watch by live stream or Zoom or whatever we've got going on, I'm sure we will have, actually, Rabbi Malka has told me never to say I'm sure ever again. So I hope that we will have some sort of a live stream or a Zoom broadcast tomorrow morning at 10:30. And then tomorrow afternoon, as you may know, The custom on the first afternoon of Rosh Hashanah is to go to a body of water and to perform the Tashlich ritual. And so our Santa Barbara Jewish Federation is organizing Tashlich at Ledbetter Beach tomorrow afternoon from 1 o'clock until 5 o'clock. So there'll be a lot of Jews from all over Santa Barbara gathering at Ledbetter Beach tomorrow afternoon. So that's it. We will turn now to Adon Olam for our final song. I want to thank Heather for your flexibility, as always. Cantor, thank you for your incredible voice and the spirit with which you lead us. And Rabbi Brenner, thank you for a very, very inspiring Devar Torah tonight. Thank you. Adon Olam, page 94.
Adon Olam asher malach beterem kol yetzir nivra le'et naso vechefzo kol azai melech shemo nikra ve'acharei kichlot hakol levado yimlok nora ve'hu haya ve'hu oveh ve'hu והוא אחד ואין שני להמשילו להכבירה בלי ראשית בלי תכלית ולא העוז והמשרה והוא אלי וחי גואלי וצור חבלי מיצרה והוא ניסי ומנוס לי מנת כוסי ביום אקרא בידו אפקיד רוחי בעת אישן והעירה ואם רוחי גווייתי אדוני לי ולא יירא.
L'shana tova v'techatemu v'tikatevu v'techatemu. May you be inscribed and sealed in the book of life for a sweet, healthy, happy new year. Shana tova.
Shana Tova, everybody.